Joining us today on the show, we have former Integrated Bar of the Philippines President Atty. Domingo Cayosa. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Gretchen. Magandang umaga sa ating mga kababayan.
Let's start with the item that we just read. There is a cancellation of passport already for former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. What is the legal threshold for doing that? Can charges be simply enough to cancel one's passport?
Pardon, Gretchen,
Narinig niyo ako?
I miss you. Can you repeat the question?
Okay. Na-cancel na ho yung passport ni Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque, former. And what is the legal threshold for doing just that? Is it enough that you have charges against you back home?
Yeah, of course, once the passport is cancelled, then he becomes an undocumented alien in any foreign country where he may be found. And under the national laws of these countries, if there's an undocumented alien, he is deported back to his country of origin.
Pero yung basis po for the cancellation of passport, what would it require of the law to allow for that to happen?
But the prosecution has to request for that of the court. So they will inform the court of the need and justify the need for the cancellation of passport. And I think the court will naturally accede to that because it is the duty of the court to bring within its jurisdiction anybody who's charged of a crime before it. So it's not only the duty of the executive branch, but also of the court to preserve the integrity and to maintain the jurisdiction of the court. It is their duty to do everything, issue any related or necessary order that will help compel any accused not submitting himself to the jurisdiction of the court to be forced to do so. And the cancellation of a passport is one of those things that can be done.
So this is merely a means to get him to come back home to answer to the charges?
Yes, it has nothing to do with his guilt or innocence, but it is just a necessary means to make the process move, because without him coming home or without him being placed under the jurisdiction of the court, then he cannot be properly arraigned, because arraignment requires personal presence of the accused.
Is he effectively a fugitive from justice now? And what does it entail to be under that classification?
Technically, you are a fugitive from justice when you are evading a warrant of arrest or you escape from prison. So once there is a warrant of arrest and you evade it, you hide from the law or the servers of the warrant, you are legally a fugitive from justice.
Okay. So in this case, siya po ay fugitive na po?
Yeah, because a case has been filed, the warrant has been issued. So he's technically a fugitive from justice. But you know, in layman's terms, anybody who walks away or runs away from the processes of the court or of law or any agency is actually a fugitive from justice. The technicality under the rules of court and many other related rules is that you should be formally charged and a warrant should be issued against you.
Because the government is very specific on that when it comes to the case naman of Zaldico, na pag hindi po siya nag-surrender kahapon, ay siya na po itatawaging fugitive from justice. Does that have any effect on, let's say, application for a red notice from the Interpol?
Yes, it makes a difference. Once a warrant of arrest is lawfully issued by a competent court, then under the Interpol treaty, our country can now request for a red notice, because a red notice is a request to the Interpol and to be issued by the headquarters of the Interpol, the United Nations, issued to all countries, notifying them that the warrant of arrest has been validly issued against this particular person, and they are to help enforce the warrant of arrest. So now, with that, with the red notice, any member of the Interpol treaty is now under obligation to arrest whoever is the subject of that red notice.
Okay. Pero yung an arrest warrant would suffice to be able to obtain red notice.
Yes,
Hindi na
that's
po kailangan
usually,
ng fugitive from justice. That, ano lang yun, parang jargon lang po yun. Oo.
yeah.
Kasi lagi po nababangkit eh.
Yeah, and it's also important kasi kung minsan people get confused, di ba? There's a red notice and there's a blue notice. Ang blue notice naman, wala pang warrant of arrest, pero akusado na siya. So a blue notice is a request to all the countries to watch out for this guy, monitor his location and inform the requested country kung alam nyo kung nasaan siya. Hindi pa siya a-arrestuhin. Maraming kulay yung red notice o yung notice o kaya yung diffusion. Merong orange, may black, may gray, may green. Iba-iba ang meaning niyan.
Parang hold departure order muna itong blue notice. Tapos yung cancellation ng passport ay equal to the red notice kasi kailangan mo nang umuwi talaga. Pero putting side by side the argument of the former presidential spokesperson that he is being politically persecuted. That's why he's applying for asylum, putting that side by side with an arrest warrant. How do they fight against each other at ano pong mananaig?
Well, that is a legal ploy by Professor Harry Roque because once a red notice is given or any notice, the rules of Interpol requires that it should not be politically motivated, racially motivated, or because of religious persecution. So he will try to point that this case is political persecution because if it is political persecution, the Interpol can refuse to issue the notice. That's one of the key requirements of the notices by the Interpol. It should not be because of politics, religion, race, or a military request.
Okay. So, now that he is applying for asylum and waiting for the decision on that, is the arrest warrant, or rather, is a red notice, a possible red notice from the Interpol already enforceable? Or aantayin din po nila yung resulta ng asylum request po ni Harry Roque?
No, they don't need to wait for that. As a matter of fact,
okay.
the issuance either of the red notice and the warrant of arrest by the local court, once transmitted or once brought to the attention of the Netherlands, where he is seeking political asylum, it will adversely affect his request. We have to remember that the fact that you apply for asylum does not make you automatically a citizen of that country. You remain to be a Filipino citizen, subject to Philippine laws, and you remain to be a foreigner until your request for asylum is granted. Hindi naman automatic ito. So, this will adversely affect his application. Especially so, the European Community, Netherlands, is very conscious about human trafficking, about international syndicates. They have a very strict laws about this. Ganun din sa corruption. So, mas madali. They'll be very cooperative once they are formally informed about these developments.
You're right to point that out kasi hindi pa natin nababanggit that Harry Roque along with others are facing a human trafficking case for alleged involvement in the Philippine offshore gaming operator hub Lucky South 99 in Whirlwind Corporation. So yun po yung bigat nung kasong hinaharap po nila. And I assume that all of these rules will apply in the same way and manner to Congressman Zaldico.
Yes, Congressman Zaldico or anybody else who may be accused of a crime and a warrant is arrested. The Republic of the Philippines can make use of the Interpol facilities. It is important that they do this. They inform Interpol and they also inform the foreign embassies immediately about this. And perhaps, through diplomatic channels, also explain and give a background of all of these cases. Mahihirapan talaga sila magtago in foreign countries. Siguro they can go to, third world countries where they don't care about corruption or human trafficking. But they're very few. And they will be miserable in those countries. Maliliit lang mo yan, mas madali pa silang mahuli siguro.
Although yung mga charges po against Congressman Zaldico are related naman to the flood control project in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro, which involves the company founded, the SunWest Corporation, at ang legal response po ni Attorney Rui Ronday, nakausap po natin siya kahapon, he will file muna a motion to quash the arrest warrant because of lack of probable cause. Your thoughts on that move by their camp?
But that's usually what lawyers do. Of course, by ethics and the rules, we're supposed to do everything legally possible to protect the interests of our clients. But, there's a thin line between doing that and delaying the processes. So that's the right to file that. But we hope that the local courts will act swiftly on this thing because sometimes our courts, also the judges and justices, are notoriously slow in deciding. And that's one reason why corruption has flourished in this country. So we hope this time that there is so much attention on these graft cases and these scandals that the court will swiftly deal with that so that it does not become a delaying tactic.
Okay. At nabanggit niyo po, mahihirapan sila magtago sa ibang bansa. Pero what if he goes to a country where we have no extradition treaty with? Kaya pa rin po ba marating ng Interpol yun? Let's say Portugal. Pwede po ba pumasok ang Interpol doon?
That's a very appropriate question and we have to clarify. Requesting for extradition is another thing. You have to have a treaty, a bilateral treaty with the country where he is so that you can apply for request for extradition. And it is a quite lengthy process. You have to go through the courts. And we have only a few countries, about 15 or 16, less than 20 countries that have extradition treaties with us. That's one approach. But the faster approach is to invoke our membership in the Interpol. So that's a totally different process. So once we do that, it's just administrative. It's the United Nations and the Interpol that runs this. It doesn't go through any courts. So
pwede na pong habulin.
The obligation under Interpol is separate from their treaty obligations in an formal extradition treaty.
So, mahihirapan ho talaga, no? I ask this because also of the case, ito nga po, involving the congressman, which is the Nauhan Oriental Mindoro case. Marami po nagtatanong, bakit po yun kaya ang inuna dito ng Office of the Ombudsman, given that ang affiliation lang po na dito, yung SunWest Corporation. Bakit hindi yung Bulacan kung saan marami na po nag-testify na may nagdadala ng mga pera, kasama na po doon yung district engineer, nabanggit na po ilang beses yung kanyang pangalan. In terms of strength of the case, is it the Bulacan case so much stronger enough to, make sure that this arrest warrant holds?
Well, that's the call of the ombudsman or the prosecutor. But I suspect, I would presume, that mas kumpleto yung dokumento dun sa Nauhan project. And also, there's a big difference there. Ang contractor doon, yung kumpanya, Sunwest, kumpanya ni Congressman Ko. Even if he has divested, as they claim, there is what we call in law the piercing of the corporate veil. So a corporation or mga transactions cannot be used to shield you from criminal liability or even civil liabilities. So kahit nag-divest yan, kung siya naman talaga actually in control, siya nag-negotiate, siya yung nagmamando, and they can show that, then he will be still held accountable. As a matter of fact, malamang yung mga kung bigyan niya ng divestment, kapamilya pa rin niya. So lahat sila kinabla.
The burden of proof will be
so I
on
suppose
the
they have
accuser, though.
more evidence now, and it's much simpler. The other cases, I presume and hope that they will continue the case build-up and continue filing all these cases that can and need be filed.
Because the Bulacan case does involve people high up, senators, right? So it's a much more complex case, but also there's already a lot of testimonial evidence surrounding that case. And speaking of evidence, no, lumabas po ang ICI last week with documents that they turned over to the Office of the Ombudsman. At dito po, meron po silang isang dokumento tungkol sa House Speaker where they stop short of saying which laws the President's cousin may have violated. Ang sabi po dun sa dokumento na yon, that it is issued without any finding or conclusion of guilt or liability on the part of former Speaker Martin Romualdez. This statement is in stark contrast to the other documents turned over to the Ombudsman na meron po nakalagay specifically, no, na meron pong possible charges ng graft, malversation, falsification. Ano po ibig sabihin nun? Does that exonerate the speaker? Help us understand this.
Well, I share your belief that you are confused, no? And it's good to explain that in reality, the ICI does not have prosecutorial powers, so they cannot determine probable cause. So, i-turn over na lang din sa ombudsman, and it may be much better if they just keep quiet about it, rather than for some cases they are so certain, and in some cases they say without any finding of guilt. The optics can be terrible, diba? And they have to manage that also because there is heightened expectation and demand and anger on the part of the Filipino people. So pinapakinggan nila lahat ng sinasabi nila. So kung hindi, sa tingin nila hindi pareho ang treatment, it doesn't help the ICI or the credibility of government at all. So mas maganda siguro i-turn over na nila whatever evidence they have and leave it to the ombudsman that is by law authorized to determine probable cause and if necessary, gather more evidence for a better case build-up.
Because it does line up with the President's statement regarding his cousin na walang ebidensya pa sa ngayon ang nagtuturo kay House Speaker. Although ilang beses na ho nabanggit ang kanyang pangalan. Hindi ba, doesn't that merit an investigation at least?
Well, I think they are investigated. As a matter of fact, I heard Ombudsman Boying Remulla say so. But that's why it's very important for Zaldico to come forward and come home. Because for now, until he takes an oath and, submits himself to clarificatory questions and perhaps have corroborative evidence kung meron siya, may hirapan sila to act on his video expose. And that's why the call is for Zaldico, please come home so that you can substantiate and you can clarify whatever you're saying in video, and now this time do it under oath because that would be actionable. And very important.
Kahapon kasi naglabas po siya ng isa pang panibagong video at dito po niya sinabi na he will be called a terrorist by the government to let the truth bury with him. Help us understand bakit ganun ang kanyang pagbasa sa gagawin ng administrasyon. Well,
obviously these are calculated series of exposés, all by video, not under oath. and in a foreign land. So I don't know his predicament. I don't know his motivations. But kailangan mapanuri tayo, di ba? As we demand accountability, we also have to be careful about propaganda, optics, and all wide claims. Baka lang naililihis o kaya mas lalong naguguluhan tayo. So he has to face the music, and at the same time, we hope that he will cooperate in the case build-up against anybody else that he says is really involved in this big guy.
Pero bakit naman ho kaya terorista ang itatag sa kanya? I mean, how could the government use that? I mean, when an arrest warrant already suffices for the Interpol to move?
Well, he has a very creative imagination. Perhaps he's advised by other lawyers, no? At also because very strict din ang international community against terrorism. But, you know, from what we know, published facts and ang layo naman sa terrorism itong ginagawa niya. But of course, yun ang sasabihin niya para maawa sa kanya sa tao or perhaps gain credibility. We don't know. But to be tagged kasi terrorist, the AMLAC can seize your properties for iba ring track yun.
Yes.
Diba? And then yung paggalaw ng international community talagang maiipit ka kung terorista ka, diba? Pati funding mo, etc. So yun siguro sinasabi niya, but I don't think, you know, the prosecutors are careless or stupid to try to make it terrorism. Kasi obviously hindi naman. It's graft and corruption, period.
But maybe that's also a legal remedy to be able to get the assets, get it back somehow, no? Posible po yun.
There's an easier way to do that, Gretchen. They can file for future cases, civil preponderance of evidence lang yan. So we're wondering why they're not doing that. As a matter of fact, even in the criminal cases, under Sandigan Bayan rules, the government or the prosecutor can avail of preliminary remedies in civil cases applicable sa Sandigan Bayan cases. Ito yung preliminary attachment ng kanyang ari-arian while the case is ongoing. They can do that. So we're watching if they do that. If they do those things for future cases, ill-gotten wealth cases, or your preliminary attachment, then we would believe they are serious about it.
Okay. One thing's for certain, lumilit po ang mundo ni Congressman Zaldico at ni former President Spokesperson Harry Roque. Maraming salamat, Attorney Domingo Cayosa, for breaking that down for us, former IBP President. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat. Good morning sa lahat.